Honestly, this is one of those questions that if you ask yourself and you answer honestly, could be the catalyst to changing the trajectory of your life forever. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited about today's video. Today's video is actually going to be the second video in a series that I'm doing here on my channel called the Change Your Life Challenge. These videos have the intention of helping you set up your life for the new year, but if you're watching this way into the future, it is essentially just a series of videos helping you to make the positive changes in your life that you need to live happy and fulfilled. So today's video is going to be for those of you who are feeling lost in life and don't know what to do to make your life happy and fulfilled. I know so many people out there, they are on social media looking at all of these people living their best lives and they just can't see how to get there because they don't have the clarity on what they need to do themselves. If this feels like you, if this is resonating, then this video is definitely going to be for you. But unlike a lot of the videos here that talk about how to figure out what you want to do with your life, I'm actually going to give you a really practical strategy at the end of the video to help you actually start taking the actions to get there. So you won't be leaving this video feeling like, okay, now I know what to do, but how do I actually make it happen? I will give you a really practical exercise that I actually teach in my course, Clarity and Community. It is going to help you, like I said, after you figure out exactly what it is that you want to do, learn how to actually make that happen. So make sure you stay to the end for that, and if you did enjoy the video, I would very much appreciate it if you gave it a big thumbs up. And of course, if you are new around here, why not consider subscribing? So when it comes to actually figuring out what you want to do with your life, I think a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on this because as a society, we train ourselves, or we're taught that we need to have our life figured out. And specifically around the time of leaving high school or when we're in university or college, there's a lot of pressure on ourselves to choose a perfect career or a perfect life path. And the reality is, a lot of the times it's heavily influenced by the people around us, our parents, our teachers, and we don't actually develop the skill of asking ourselves and asking our intuition and our gut, what do I actually want? It's like we're told what to want our entire life, and so that crucial skill of connecting inwards just doesn't have the space it needs to develop. When it comes down to figuring out what you want to do with your life, I just want to say that you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself. There's nothing wrong with you if this takes you some time. There's nothing wrong with you if the exploration of figuring out what your life should look like takes you a couple of years. Life's a journey, it's not just a series of destinations. And so first of all, what I want to say is let's stop putting this unnecessary pressure on ourselves that figuring out what life should look like and what we should be doing has to be absolutely perfect, because the reality is it never will. Even if you figure out what you want to do with your life, you may very well change it, and that's okay too. But really, what I want to do is talk to those of you who are just feeling stuck. You know that life's a journey and you know that life's an evolution, but right now you're unhappy, you're unfulfilled, but you don't know what's on the other side of that. So really, when it comes to figuring out what you want to do with your life, the big question you need to ask yourself is, what is it that I actually want? What is it that I truly want? What do I want my life to look like? But I have coached many women at this stage, both one-on-one, in groups, and in other programs that I've run. And I've asked many people, what is it that you want with your life? And I know that it's all too common that when we ask ourselves this question, we are met with blank. When I ask this question to a lot of people, they really truly have the feeling like they don't know. Maybe that's you right now, and that's maybe why you've actually clicked on this video. So the first step that I'm going to share with you is, in order to figure out what you do want, one of the easiest places to start is figuring out what you don't want. What about your life right now isn't serving you? What about your life are you currently not enjoying? When you can really put your finger on the pulse of that area, then you can start to see, well, what's the opposite to that? So I have a few journaling questions. Maybe write these down. I'll leave them on the screen and you can just start to ponder on these. Like, remember, this first step is us really figuring out what it is that's not serving us or what we don't want in our life first, because this is, as I mentioned, a really good place to start to figure out what it is that you actually do want. So when it comes to figuring out what you don't want, the first thing that you want to ask yourself is, what is it about my life that I currently dislike? So I want you to start thinking about not only the life as a bigger picture, but even down to the micro of your day-to-day. You know, run through a typical day or a week in your life and start to think about what areas you dislike. Like, what is it about your life? And try to get really honest here. I think a lot of the times when we do these exercises, we're worried that like, our partner's gonna see it, or somebody else is gonna see it and they're gonna judge us, or you know, the world's gonna judge us. But the reality is these exercises are just for you, and you're not gonna get to the bottom of what you do want unless you start being really honest with yourself. So say to yourself, what is it about my current life that I dislike? And again, be super honest. If it's your job or your relationship, your friendships, your health, the way you wake up in the morning, the way you go to bed, your environment around you, the way that you communicate with people, your spiritual practice, just start to really think about like, what areas of my life do I really dislike? And it's okay to dislike areas of your life. Maybe you've been conditioned to set up life in that way, but it's not in true alignment with what you actually want. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to fix that. But like I've said about 1,000 times, you've got to be honest first. The second question, and this is going to be huge. Honestly, this is one of those questions that if you ask yourself and you answer honestly, could be the catalyst to changing the trajectory of your life forever. The question is, what persistent thoughts am I avoiding? I want to give you an example of a client of mine who was struggling in some relationships within her life, particularly someone that was really close to her. She was really avoiding a lot of thoughts that this person was not serving them, that they necessarily shouldn't be a part of their life, because you know, it is really difficult to dissolve relationships, especially ones that are lifelong at this stage. But when I sat down and spoke to this client, like, there's something in your life weighing you down, I can tell. When she was really honest with herself, she's like, I've been avoiding the thoughts that I think every day about this person and how they're no longer serving me. And I've been putting so much energy into both avoiding the thoughts and trying to just bite my tongue around this person that it's taking away from my ability to succeed in my business, in my health, and other areas of my life. So I want you to ask yourself, like, what thoughts are you avoiding? What persistent thoughts are you avoiding? Your intuition has a really good way of nagging you, and the thoughts, I promise you, will get louder and louder and louder. So along with the first question, this is another opportunity for you to be brutally honest. If you were to take a step back for a day away from social media and away from other people, what things come up for you? What major changes do you intuitively know that you need to make in your life, but some part of you, because you're scared or you're afraid of shame or you're afraid of hurting other people, are you actually avoiding? And the third big question that you want to ask yourself is, where am I letting myself down? I have a personal example of this. Recently, I really kept feeling frustrated with myself around my health and fitness. You know, yes, I understand that we have just come out of lockdown, but I still knew, and I was getting really frustrated with myself, that I wasn't showing up, for my body, that I wasn't showing up to exert the energy that I needed in order to feel energized in other areas of my life. I knew that I was letting myself down, and therefore I was getting really frustrated. Persistent frustration in a particular area of your life is another indication that your intuition is trying to tell you that there's something there. Maybe you're starting to feel really frustrated in your job, or maybe even in your business. Maybe you're starting to feel really frustrated with yourself because you keep wanting to start a YouTube channel or a podcast, but you're just not taking that action, probably because of fear, and that's another video entirely. But where are you frustrating yourself? What areas of your life are you going to bed every single night being like, man, I didn't do that thing again, and then promising yourself that you're going to wake up the next morning and take that action? Those things don't disappear. Look, if there's something in your life that's like, meh, maybe it's a good idea and it pops into your head every so often, it's probably not an intuitive nudge. You're probably being influenced. However, if there's something, whether it be changing your health, starting that business, that just doesn't go away, that is nagging you, and you're feeling frustrated because you just can't seem to take that action, there's something there. There's something there that you can start to follow, because that thing is probably an indication of what it is that you actually want in your life. So now those 3 questions are ones that I really want you to journal out, spend some time on, because like I said, they will start to leave clues, like little breadcrumbs of what in your life is not serving you. And when you can do an audit of what's not serving you, now we have a neutral playing field to start actually building towards what it is that we do want. Now the second step, and it's not so much an exercise, but more of a call out realization that I'm about to say right now, is that a lot of people don't have the courage to live the life that they truly desire. Courage is such a big part of getting what you actually want out of life. And so now that we're at a point of neutrality, we've worked on the things in our life that we don't want, you have to work on your confidence and your courage and your sense of self-worth, something that I actually spoke about in the previous video of this series, in the habits video, which I will leave now linked on the screen. But you really have to start working on your sense of self-worth, because if you don't think you're worthy of following your intuition or following your desires, you're going to always fall back into those negative patterns and those negative situations that you were trying to avoid or that weren't serving you. And so the second step is really working on your sense of self-worth and your courage and your confidence through books, podcasts, resources, watching videos, going to events, meeting people online, like really developing a personal development practice to increase that self-worth. Because in order to really follow your heart, I know that's such a corny freaking way to say it, but in order to really follow your heart and to build a life that's in alignment with what you actually truly desire, you have to feel as though you're worthy of that thing. I'll tell you a little secret. You already know what you want, but most of the time, we are too afraid to admit it to ourselves. Now, the third step, we've gotten to the point of neutrality, we've started to work on our courage. The third step is actually figuring out what you want your life to look like. The bread and butter of this entire video. The first thing that I would say that you want to start trying to figure out is, what are my values? When I realized what my values were, it made such a difference in me figuring out what I wanted my life to look like. My values are actually fun, freedom, connection, and simplicity. And when I figured out that these 4 things were the 4 most important things to me, I was able to start really figuring out what I wanted my life to look like. Well, of course, I want my business to be simple, and I've built a whole entire career on that idea. Of course, I want to have fun, and so I started looking for hobbies and different things that lit me up. I want to have connection, and so I'm spending more time with my loved ones and the people that I care about. And of course, I want to have freedom, and so I'm building a business that's in alignment with that value. So figuring out what your values are is such a powerful exercise. Now, I know for a lot of people, again, maybe you're blocked off from your intuition, and so it's kind of hard to figure out what's important to you. So a really simple exercise that you can do is just go onto Google, type in list of values, and print it off, and then start to highlight words that stand out to you. Now, I know this is like a really practical way of doing it, but it helps because the words on the page are going to stand out to you if they're important to you. Your intuition will nudge you towards particular words because there's something in there. So starting to figure out what your values are is one of the first steps that you should be taking in figuring out what your life looks like, because when you know what your values are, then you can start to build your life out in accordance to those values. The second thing that you can do to start figuring out what you want to be filling your life with, what you want to do with your life. Look, I didn't want to make this video just about career because although starting a business and a career is a big part of this channel, life isn't just about work. Life isn't just about how you make money. Life is about what lights you up, the people that you spend your time with, how you have fun, how you make a difference in the world. All of these areas make up our life. And so this video isn't just about figuring out what you want in terms of your passion. I actually have a video on that and I will leave that linked on the screen. It's a couple of years old, but it is still really good. This video is about figuring out what you want to make your life feel whole and fulfilled. And the second thing that you can do to do that is start to figure out, when am I in flow? What flow actually is flow is actually a scientifically studied concept. It was first sort of starting to be studied by this guy called Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. He wrote a book on it as well called Flow. But flow is essentially the concept or the feeling when time passes you by because you're so active and engaged with a particular task. You know, you're not suffering with limiting beliefs and you're not thinking about paying your bills or stressed out. You're just there and present. It really is like being here and being in the now. There's such power in being present in this moment right here. And flow is one of the ways that you can do that. So I want you to start thinking about, where in my life do I feel like I'm in flow? What tasks or activities or people make me feel like I'm just floating through life essentially, and that none of my stresses matter? Because why this is important is that this is an indicator of something that you not only enjoy but challenges you. They're the two really core concepts of getting into flow, is that you're enjoying yourself and that you're being appropriately challenged. And these are two really, really core elements of human fulfillment. When you are enjoying something and growing, you will feel happy and fulfilled. And so what tasks, you know, maybe it's editing videos, maybe it's hanging out with your friends, maybe for me, you know, it's things like Muay Thai and motocross and actually filming. When I go live on Instagram, oh my God, if I didn't have a time cap, I could 100% just sit there and speak for hours, and I often do in my coaching calls. And so this is a huge indicator that I'm on track with what I actually want my life to look like. So just get your journal out, make a list, like, when is it that I feel like time passes me by? When am I in flow? If you can figure out what that is, then you can figure out, well, I need to be spending more of my life doing this. And another really practical thing, the third step that you can really take, is start to follow what you're positively consuming. And what I mean by this is, you know, without noticing it, we're naturally attracted to particular types of influencers or particular types of content online. You're here watching my videos, so I'm guessing you've got a slight interest in personal development or business. Go through your YouTube history, and I'm not talking about like the drama videos or the news, but you know, the positive content, the influential content, the things that you're learning about. What do you spend time learning about? Go into your YouTube history, go into your podcasts history. Look at the people that you follow on social media. Look at the books that you've recently purchased. Whether or not you've read them or not, it doesn't matter. But the reality is that you are probably interested in certain topics and you're consuming a lot of that, or intending to consume a lot of that. And so that is going to lead you in the direction of particular areas that you should explore more. And that can really help with vocation. You know, if there's a particular area that you're watching a lot of YouTube videos on, then maybe that's an idea for a business to start. I know that almost seems like overly simple of a concept, but trust me, the most profound things usually are simple. The things that you're consuming the most is probably the things that you're most interested in, and that despite fear, you should be filling your life with. Your values, when you're in flow, and what it is that you're interested in. These are the three core elements that if you can truly follow and if you can truly embed into your life experience, you will feel happy and fulfilled. So I promised you at the beginning of the video that I was going to give you an exercise to start actually bringing this to life. Now, as I mentioned, this exercise is from my course, Clarity and Community, which really goes deeper into the concepts that we spoke about today. Clarity and Community helps you figure out your vision as someone who is wanting to start an online career or a business. It helps you figure out your vision, figure out who you need to be as a leader, and then build a community around that, as well as reverse engineer the action steps that you need to take to be successful. So I'm going to leave that linked in the description below if that interests you. But one of the most profound strategies in that course is a strategy called the gap strategy. Basically what you want to do is you just want to take all of those things that you figured out from this video, the positive things that you want to fill your life with, your values, the things that you're interested in, the ideas that came up as you were journaling or doing the exercises from this video, and you want to put it on the right hand side of a page, just in your journal. Then on the left hand side, you want to just put down what your life currently looks like. You know, maybe on the right hand side you say, health is a value and I'm working out and I'm being adventurous and I'm spending more time with family. But then on the right hand side, when you kind of list out what your life currently looks like, you realize that you're really not making enough time to spend with your loved ones. And so then what you do, you want to link the gap between those two things. You want to have a look at what your current life looks like and where you want to be, and write one major action step in the middle. So think about 3 separate columns. Write one major action step in the middle that you can do from move to one side to the other. One major action step that you can do to close the gap from where you are now to where you desire to be. I know, again, this exercise seems really simple, but of course the taking of the action is the hardest part. But really, going from the life we have to the life we want is all just about taking that action and closing that gap. And so when you're super clear about what that gap looks like, it's much easier to close it. All right, that is it for me. Again, I do apologize that this video was a little longer, but there is so much stuff that I want to talk to you about when it comes to changing your life. I, again, have changed my life so much. If you haven't watched my Change Your Life story, you can do, I never know which side it's on, so that's why I point everywhere. But if you haven't watched how I've changed my own life, you can watch that video. I will leave it linked on the screen. I really, really appreciate your time here today. I would love to hear from you in the comments below as you do these exercises. What is your #1 value? Or what are a couple of your top values? I couldn't choose one personally, so I don't even know why I asked you to do that. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.